What's up guys, it's jjpokey here, and today we're going to go over the full rework of Michael Myers. I'm going to run you through everything that's changed and also give some advice on gameplay and how to get into him as a beginner and an advanced player. Starting us off, we have a full overhaul of his add-ons. Just to start, we're going to go over his completely reworked power. In the previous version, we had Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, and you went through the phases by stalking the survivors and leveling up. With the new rework, we have 3 different phases still, but they are more dynamically interchangeable. So let's start with Stalker. The Stalker mode is equivalent to Michael Myers' Tier 1 before. He moves slow, is undetectable, and can stalk survivors. One small detail that is awesome about this new Myers that I really love is that once you are halfway done stalking, a little jingle plays across the entire map, which is awesome, it is scary, and it really fits the theme of Michael Myers. So I love this change behavior. Now, instead of working through the ladder of tiers, we're able to switch through Stalker and Pursuer whenever we please. Pursuer mode is technically a Tier 2, but it doesn't require Stalk to get to. It gives us normal movement speed in a 24-meter tear radius, and our vaulting, braking, lunging, and stun recovery speeds are increased. So basically, you're just buffed up for chase, so this is great if you don't want to stalk survivors and want to commit to a chase for some M1 hits. Now, once our stalk is full, we can activate Evil Incarnate mode. This is equivalent to what we knew as Tier 3. In this mode, his tear radius is increased to 40 meters, movement and vault speeds are increased, and survivors who have reached the second hook stage can be killed instantly. This is basically giving Myers a base kit tombstone. And while you're in this mode, you can use Slaughtering Strike, which is a new lunge attack that can insta-down survivors from a long distance. However, it's not that easy. You have to charge it up, and then you have to be able to control the lunge around a loop or in a straight line. It's very situational and will only get value in certain situations. To summarize Evil Incarnate mode, you don't insta-down survivors anymore like normal Myers. However, if you are able to hit a survivor with your Slaughtering Strike, they will be insta-downed. Now, I won't get into my personal thoughts on this now, I'm just going to go over it, but don't worry, I don't think Myers is completely ruined. Now that I've done summarizing his main ability, let's go over every single add-on change. At this point in the video, if you don't want to look through every single add-on, you can go ahead and skip to the next part where I show some gameplay and examples. Otherwise, let's get started with the most basic add-ons. Starting with the brown ones, these ones are pretty insignificant, but there is one that I think is really special and can stand out in certain builds. Starting with Tacky Earrings, we just get some increased movement speed while stalking, very basic. Boyfriend's Memo increases stalk range by 8 meters. Next we got Blonde Hair. Scratch marks and pools of blood last 100% longer in Stalker mode. This is really good for tracking survivors and getting that stalk bar full. However, it's pretty insignificant and won't have a huge impact on the game. Now, the most important brown add-on that I think is actually very important, especially for me, someone who loves to run Scratch Mirror, is the Memorial Flower. This add-on increases movement speed in Stalker mode to 4.4 meters per second. Stalker mode currently has, I believe, a 4.2 movement speed, so increasing this for Scratch Mirror makes movement so much easier when trying to move around the map. This add-on will definitely be crucial in Scratch Mirror builds. Next up, we got the green add-ons. We're going to start with Jewelry here. It increases the stalk meter fill rate on stationary survivors by 10%. This is a very niche add-on. Survivors are rarely just going to be stationary, especially if you get up close to stalk them or they know you're coming. They're not going to be just standing there. And 10% is pretty insignificant, especially because the stalk meter already fills pretty quickly. I don't see this add-on ever really being used. Next, we have the Glass Fragment. This increases the movement speed of Slaughtering Strike by 5%, but decreases the charge speed of Slaughtering Strike by 10%. This is actually a pretty good add-on for being uncommon. It's going to get some decent value, but I don't think it's one of the stronger add-ons. Next, we have Dead Rabbit. This is a classic, and it is hardly changed from before. Just some different terms here to work with. It decreases the radius in Pursuer mode by 25%. So when you're in that chase mode, where you have a 4.6 movement speed, your tear radius will be much smaller, almost like a regular Tier 2 Myers. This will help you stay hidden and less detected even while chasing down survivors with a high movement speed. On the flip side, in Evil Incarnate mode, your tear radius is increased by 25%, which isn't that big of a deal when you're in this mode because you're very powerful already, but survivors will run early. This could be combined with certain perks to make a tear radius build, including skill checks, healing, everything like that. So I would say it's very situational and an okay add-on in general. Now we have my favorite two add-ons besides Scratch Mirror, and these two might be my favorite to use together. First off, we have the hairbrush. When Evil Incarnate activates, the next pallet break is 50% faster. This means as soon as you get into your quote-unquote tier 3 mode, if a survivor drops a pallet, a lot of times when you're switching to tier 3, especially with the new cooldown that leads from the transition to Stalker to tier 3, survivors will be out of loop and instantly drop a pallet to be safe. This will negate that safety and break the pallet almost instantly, especially if you bring Brutal Strength, which will make the pallet break speed 70% faster than normal. And now here's my other favorite add-on that I love pairing with the toothbrush, is the Fragment Tuft of Hair. This used to be an iridescent add-on and is now an uncommon and is completely changed. This add-on allows you to play Myers like he used to play before this rework. As soon as you pop Evil Incarnate, all survivors are exposed and your lunge range is increased by 50%. The trade-off is you are no longer able to use Slaughtering Strike, but I honestly think I prefer this add-on over the Slaughtering Strike playstyle. There's many situations where you just need to hit survivors normally and not have to wind up a full strike just to insta-down them. Having to use the Slaughtering Strike every single time you get the insta-down can feel a bit clunky and a bit unnecessary, especially in situations where survivors are in tight spaces. This add-on works insanely well, and you will see yourself performing very well if you use this add-on, especially if you use coup de grace, which will increase your lunge range by 80%, making your total lunge range 130%, which is absolutely insane, especially for a killer that can insta-down survivors. Now we're going to move on to the blue add-ons. First up we have the Mirror Shard. This increases the base duration of Slaughtering Strike by 0.25 seconds and decreases the charge speed of Slaughtering Strike by 25%. This is essentially a nice little buff to the strike. If you love using the strike, this is a great, reliable add-on to bring, and you will likely perform much better with this. Next we got Judith's Journal. It increases the stock meter fill rate on the Obsession by 40%. So this is the same as it was before, so we don't really need to go over this, but when you are stocking Obsession, you will gain stock much faster. This is a very good add-on, by the way, if you're trying to get Evil Incarnate over and over. Next up we have the Jewelry Box. This increases the stock meter fill rate by 30% for all survivors, but decreases your stock range by 16 meters. So this encourages you to have a playstyle where you get really close to the survivors and then stalk them instead of watching from a distance. And it'll likely be effective, but this needs to be paired with stealth perks in order to actually work. If the survivors can see you coming, you're not going to be able to stalk them if they run away before you get there. I think this is one of the other niche add-ons that I will rarely be using, but it definitely has its place and offers a unique playstyle. Next we have the J. Myers Memorial. This increases pickup and hook speeds by 40% in Evil Incarnate mode. Now, this doesn't seem like it would have a big impact on gameplay, but it actually does. Evil Incarnate mode now only lasts 40 seconds. If you're going to pick up and hook survivors in that time, you could lose about half your duration just doing that. So increasing these speeds, you get a little bit extra time if you're going to hook people during it, which could make a big difference between another insta-down and just hitting a survivor normally. And finally, for the rare add-ons, we have the Hair Bow. This increases the duration of Evil Incarnate by 20 seconds and decreases the stock meter fill rate by 20%. This is another add-on that I believe is mostly untouched. It has a really simple concept, just a longer duration, but also takes longer to charge up. This will be very good if you want to stay in Evil Incarnate mode longer and potentially chain insta-downs by slugging or by other means. Now we're going to move on to the very rare add-ons. These ones are very interesting. There's some that are very good and some that are very bad. Starting off, we have the Vanity Mirror. When Evil Incarnate ends, you see the auras of all survivors for 4 seconds. This is one some people might be upset about. The old Vanity Mirror allowed you to see survivors' auras when in Tier 2 Myers, which would now be Pursue mode. However, with the new changes, that would be a little too overpowered. So they had to completely change this add-on. And this one is actually very useful. Every time you exit Evil Incarnate mode, you're going to want to look for survivors to stalk again so you can get back into it. This add-on gives you basically a free barbecue and chili just for your Evil Incarnate ending, which is insane because the amount of times you go in and out of Evil Incarnate in a match could be anywhere from, I would say, 3 to maybe 8 or 10 times, depending on how you're doing. Pair this with Lethal Pursuer and Barbecue and Chili, and you're getting auras pinging around the entire map, almost the entire match. I would highly recommend running this with some builds. It is very fun to use. Next up, we have the Tombstone piece. Man, I do miss the old version of this. But I think the new version is honestly very strong and very, very fun to use. When Evil Incarnate activates, you become undetectable for 20 seconds. Because you're able to insta-down survivors in Evil Incarnate mode, being undetectable automatically when you enter it gives you a huge edge on finding survivors and catching them off guard, getting a free insta-down or multiple, which could completely turn the tables of the game. Now we have what I think is his worst add-on, and no one should ever use it unless you're trying to do some weird, silly build. The Reflective Fragment, when hitting a survivor with Slaughtering Strike, it adds 20 seconds to the Evil Incarnate's duration. Pretty good. You can chain its duration and make it last a long time. However, Slaughtering Strike only deals a single health state of damage. That means you get to this state, you stalk survivors, you unlock the lunge, and you're not even able to insta-down. This completely takes away the purpose of the strike. While you can use it to break pallets and outplay survivors for cheeky hits, only a single health state is kind of pointless and makes him a super weak killer. I would highly recommend not using this add-on ever. And finally, for the very rare add-ons, we have Lock of Hair. While Evil Incarnate is active, hold the ability button to end it prematurely and regain 50% of the remaining duration as stock progress. This one's actually really good for building momentum and getting back to Evil Incarnate very quickly. What you can do is you can use most of Evil Incarnate, possibly get a kill or an insta-down, and then when it's about to end, you cancel it and you automatically get 50% of the stock back, which means you only have to do half the work to get back there. This makes you an Evil Incarnate machine. You're going to be in that mode for most of the match. And this add-on is overall just very, very strong. I would also recommend trying this one out in your builds, especially if you're going against some very good survivor teams. Finally, Scratched Mirror. Now an iridescent add-on. Something I have plenty of, thankfully. You can reveal the auras of survivors within 32 meters while stalking. This is through walls. This gives you wall hack, essentially. However, you cannot leave stalker mode, so you're stuck with that slow speed and 0 tear radius. This is perfect for scaring people, catching them off guard. If you pair this with the Memorial Flower, you will be moving at a much faster speed. So with the changes to Michael Myers, Scratch Mirror actually got a buff, which is unbelievable, and I really didn't expect this to happen. Once again, for those of you who are new, I would not recommend this as a serious add-on. This is more of a meme add-on. Most meme add-ons give you blood points, so if you see a blood point bonus under the add-on, it is likely a meme and won't do as well as the other add-ons in competitive play. And finally, Judas Tombstone. Man, this one is much different than before. Hooking a survivor during Evil Incarnate refreshes its duration, limits the duration of Evil Incarnate to 40 seconds. So essentially what this is saying is every time you hook a survivor, your Evil Incarnate completely resets, and any other add-ons to increase that duration will not work. With the new Myers, there's essentially no permanent Evil Incarnate mode, which kind of sucks, but there is many ways to keep it going and get it back quickly to the point where it can be pretty overpowered, and that's why this is an iridescent add-on. Alright, now we're going to go over some builds that I really enjoy. If you have experience in this game and you have a lot of killer perks, you should totally try these builds and see how you like it, especially if you haven't really played the Myers rework. This build is essentially the classic Tier 4 Myers. He is unstoppable, he breaks pallets extremely fast, he is an insane reach, and he stays stealthy and lore accurate while holding the game back. And let me go through this build one perk at a time, one add-on at a time to break it down for you. As I discussed before add-ons, these two are my favorite combo currently. It takes away his new strike ability, but it exposes all survivors in Evil Incarnate and increases your lunge range by 50%, which is huge, by the way. You're going to get plenty of hits that you would never get with a normal lunge. And then, of course, the hairbrush. After activating Evil Incarnate, The next pallet break is 50% faster. This is an absurd speed, by the way. And I believe I could show you a demo on screen right now to show you what this looks like in-game. But this just helps so much with catching up to survivors and really starting this chase off strong. Now the first perk I'm going to use with this build is Brutal Strength. This pairs with Hairbrush extremely well, giving us a 70% faster break speed. This is almost instant. I would say it's much less than a second for sure. And so the first pallet that Survivor drops is almost useless and you're going to catch up instantly. This is huge for getting hits and preventing distance early on. The next perk is Coup de Grace and is going to pair with Fragrant Tuft of Hair, where the lunge range is increased by 50%. Coup de Grace increases lunge range by 80%, giving us a total of 130% lunge range. This allows us to almost hit fully around certain loops, and especially when we're in Evil Incarnate mode and can get those insta-downs with just our regular hits. This is crazy fun to play with. It feels like the old Myers before this rework, but much, much stronger. The next perk we're going to use is Pop Goes the Weasel. This is where we're going to pair this with Trail of Torment to kick gens throughout the match and continually regress them to halt survivors from getting these done and escaping. Trail of Torment with Pop, you can activate them at the same time with a single kick. This will give you undetectable until that gen is touched or fully regresses. You can walk around the map in Evil Incarnate mode. All survivors are exposed. You can break your first pallet extremely fast. You have an extremely long lunge, and you're fully undetectable. This build is so much fun to play with, and it just really highlights what I really loved about the previous version of Myers. Not using the strike, but using add-ons and perks to make him super powerful is a really fun playstyle that many of you guys should try and see if you like it better than his normal lunge. Now, if you do like using his Slaughtering Strike, here is another really fun and powerful build you can use that'll have aura reading almost the entire match. With the add-ons, we're going to use Tombstone Piece, which makes us undetectable for 20 seconds when reaching Evil Incarnate, and Vanity Mirror. When Evil Incarnate ends, you see the auras of all survivors for 4 seconds. This will be complemented by Lethal Pursuer, which will make it 6 seconds. So every single time you get out of your Evil Incarnate ability, you get 6 seconds of full map aura reading, which is insane. Pair this with Barbecue and Chili, you get 7 seconds of aura reading every time you hook a survivor. Lethal, of course, also reveals all the survivors at the start of the game, which helps you get an amazing start. And we use this with Corrupt Intervention to block the 3 furthest generators to slow down the game and allow us to stock up to Evil Incarnate for the first time without losing a generator. Our final perk on this build is Bamboozle. It makes us vault faster and also will block that window that you vault for 16 seconds. The reason why I included Bamboozle in this build is because you already have a faster vault speed than default when in Evil Incarnate mode. Pairing that with the 15% vault speed, you can vault insanely fast and also block the window, making you able to catch up to survivors and use your lunge attack much easier, especially in places like Shack. All you have to do is vault one time, chase them around, they have nowhere else to go, and you can lunge and hit them very easily. And now for the conclusion of this video, I'm going to give my personal opinion on the Myers rework. First of all, I don't think this was terrible. Behavior finally buffed a weak killer after many, many years, and I'm very happy about that. Another great note is Scratched Mirror. I'm very glad they kept the add-on in the game despite changing almost every other, so that means the scares will continue. Overall, I think the add-ons are very good and now offer many different healthy playstyles, which is something Myers really, really needed. And moving on to the dash mechanic, this is something the community doesn't seem to love at the current moment. For me personally, it doesn't seem to fit the Myers style or lore at all, and the use of it in game feels clunky and even a bit awkward. I personally think the rework would have been fine if they had left this feature out completely. The new stages in his gameplay loop are already great and give him a needed boost in strength, though I can't completely hate on the dash. It is actually pretty fun to use, and it's somewhat beginner friendly. With the dash mechanic, Myers now has a completely new skill ceiling that players on both sides need to adjust to. This is okay, but I believe they are overcomplicating a killer whose power is supposed to be very simple and beginner friendly. Overall, the rework is nice, though I think behavior could have went many other directions that would be healthier for the game, and maybe more aligned with what the players actually want. I'm going to assume Myers will need another balancing change in the near future, and if they listen to the community, the dash may actually be removed completely, though this is unlikely, it's behavior. Well, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope this guide can help you in the fog. Thank you so much for sticking around if you watched this far. I really appreciate you. I'll be back with more updates in the future if any changes happen, and until then, we'll keep scaring streamers and appreciate you all. Good luck out there in the fog.